Hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. Okay, we have officially gotten started since we like to start on time. In about 5 minutes, I am going to have a very brave caller call me on my phone, and she is going to ask a big question about a big decision she is contemplating making. She's struggling right now because there are a lot of reasons to say yes to this choice that she's thinking about, or there's also lots of reasons to say no, and she's kind of stuck in her head. By the way, guys, we are all too close to ourselves. Every single one of us needs perspective, and a great way to get perspective is by calling me or hiring a coach. Speaking of coaching, I'm Claire Wasserman. I'm a career coach. I specialize in recovering perfectionists. No, I specialize in women who are navigating big stuff in their life, in their career. If you have to make a decision like my caller, if you are looking to make big moves, you're applying for jobs, but there's a lot to unpack there because it's never just about the job or just about the money. It's about who you are and what do you want. Actually, more than what you want, what do you need? What do you deeply, deeply need? And how can you first and foremost, give it to yourself, but then make choices that support it, support the life that you would like. So even though, I have a book called Ladies Get Paid, and, my specialty at its core is about advocacy, and usually that translates into asking for more money or pitching for more money. I think these days I'm a little more interested in inner worth than outer worth because it's the foundation of everything else that follows. You have to deeply believe in yourself in order to get really anybody else to believe in you. And if you are interested in connecting with me, I have a little bit of availability, just a little bit for a few more clients. So you can reach out through social media, since this is what we're doing right now. We're currently streaming live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. You can also connect with me on my website, coachmeclaire.com. I'm going to just text Sarah right now. Feel free to call me now. Call me now. Her name is technically not Sarah, but we're going to call her that for the time being. And by the way, I'm doing these live coaching sessions every Wednesday at noon Pacific time through the month of August. I was about to say on the month of May, but no, we're in August to celebrate the launch of my Substack. It is called Work in Progress. And every post is essentially a breakdown of the insights of a real coaching session. And then alongside the insights, I give a 7-day roadmap of how to translate those insights into action steps, because there's no use in having an aha moment if you can't figure out how to actually make it work for you. How do you implement these breakthroughs that we can often have in a coaching session or a therapy session? I'm just obsessed with having you live those lessons, not just learn them. All right, let's see. Okay, Sarah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so we are officially getting started. Thanks for jumping on a little bit early. We are going to do this in 25 minutes. It's going to be our time together because I got to pick up my daughter from daycare after. But I have a framework that I will be giving you that will help you make this very big decision that I know you're contemplating. So, for context, for everybody who's watching or listening, do you mind going into some detail about why you wrote in and what are you struggling with?
Sure. So, hi everyone. I am based in Los Angeles. The reason why I wrote in is because I'm in the middle of making a lot of decisions right now. I have a career primarily in strategic projects and program management and operations. I also have a pop-up bakery that I manage separately, and then I'm also considering going to business school, as well as just continuing to explore different 9-to-5s. I'm just primarily concerned that despite the fact that I've been wanting to go to graduate school, despite the fact that I've been wanting to get my MBA, I don't know if this is something that maybe the window has closed and buy that I can get from that very expensive avenue, or if maybe I just don't fit the right candidate profile. There's just a lot of hesitation on my side.
It's interesting that you didn't include as an option, maybe you just don't want it.
I think, it's interesting because I do want it. I'm just, even in the application process, I'm just kind of dreading it. Like that, taking the just given that I have right now, it's just, it feels very tedious.
Yes.
I can't tell if that's just because I've been out of the academic world for so long since my bachelor's that I'm just not used to it. I can't tell if I'm not good or if it's objectively tedious.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm so glad that you wrote in because I was saying earlier before we got on the call that we're all too close to ourselves. Like I have multiple therapists. I'm not even kidding. I have 2 therapists. Because each one of them has a blind spot, right? Okay. I'm going to ask you a series of questions that I feel pretty confident that by the end of how you answer them, whether it's within our time together or as you contemplate it post call, you will be pretty clear on your direction. So, okay, let's imagine you apply to school. And just to recap for everybody, you have had a kind of traditional tech background of a career and then went into entrepreneurism. And it sounds like there's things you've learned, you're still interested in it. But you're also contemplating business school, which is now going to a traditional business background. And there's pros and cons to both, sacrifices to be made on either end of whatever choice that you make. Imagine that you make the choice to apply to school and you get it and you go to school. How will you know that this was the right decision? So when you project into the future, tell me, and have no self-doubt about this. Life has gone perfectly. You get everything you want. Okay. Tell me what will have made it worth it to go to business school for you.
I think if I can leave with an incubator style community and funding, introduction to people who can help me find funding for my business.
Okay.
And help me take this in a more technical realm, because I already have a technical founder of sorts in my husband. And I don't necessarily need a co-founder, right? Okay. More going, I would think it would be worth it if I were able to leave with confidence that I have the next scalable direction for my business.
Okay. So I'll just recap it. You're looking for a network/community, access to funding, and then confidence of how to scale the operations of what you're doing. And confidence will come, I think, from knowledge, right? From information. Okay. Side note, you don't need to answer this right now. It's a little bit more of a rhetorical question right now, but I do want you to spend time on this after. What are all the ways in which you can give this to yourself without going to school? So I'm going to repeat it again: funding/access to funding, network/community, and then knowledge so that you feel confident you know what to do to scale this. So next steps for you would be, if I don't go to business school, is it possible to get all of these things? Okay. And you're going to probably map out, yeah, it is possible if you do X, Y, and Z. Okay. That's going to establish the non-business school path. So the way to achieve your goal, not going to business school. Then you have business school, okay, as a way to achieve your goal. Now, let's say you go to business school, you spend X amount of money and time, okay, and none of those things happen for you. You're still not confident that you know what to do. You didn't really connect with the community or network, or maybe you ended up getting a network, but it wasn't even through your school, and you don't have access to funding. Will you regret going to business school if you do not achieve those things?
Yes, and if I don't have that, or if I don't have that and I have student loans, I will be devastated.
Exactly. Devastated. Right. Okay. Good word. All right. Here's my next question. And by the way, for everybody watching and listening, I'm going to have all of this in my next Substack, which it's free. It comes out on Sundays. So I'm going to give everybody the 4 questions that I'm giving Sarah right now, because we're going off on some tangents because it's a live coaching session, but I will give you all the 4 questions. So the first one was, how will you know that this was the right decision? And you told me. If that doesn't happen, if you do not achieve those things, but you still made this decision, will you regret it? And you're like, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be devastated. Okay. The third question is, what can you do? So imagine you go to business school. What can you do to make it worthwhile, even if you don't achieve your outcome? And I already can tell you what the answer is, which is you going and figuring out how to get access to funding, the network, the community, and the information without business school. Those are all things within your control. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, that is again, and then the last question is, and we're going to get to this in just a second, but it's really, once you're looking at these paths, you ask your body, not your mind, okay? Not your mind, because your mind is going to tell you all kinds of stories, and your mind has way too much information. Your body holds wisdom that you are not tapping into. None of it, barely, unless you have a good somatic practice. It's really hard to tap into your body's wisdom. But I can tell you this, when you are imagining different paths, so the one in which you go to business school and none of that shit happens, and the path in which you don't go to business school and you make all of this stuff happen for you with exhaustion, by the way, it's not to say it's not going to be tiring as fuck, but in your body, which path feels lighter? Which path feels curious, in openness, expansiveness, less pressure? And then on the flip side, in your body, where does it feel heavier? Dread, okay? Resistance, contraction, okay? Pay attention to that. That is your intuition. And so many of us try to override our intuition because we say, oh no, I'm procrastinating. Because you said to me, oh, it's tedious. I've been out of the academic game. That's why I'm not applying. I have an instinct. It may be an instinct. My intuition is telling me you might actually have more wisdom that is holding you back than you are giving your sort of wisdom credit. And I'm not to say going to business school or trying is it. I mean, perhaps that is the right thing to do, but it comes at a cost. That being said, so does everything, right? Like there is a sacrifice to every single choice that you make. So I think the real question I'd be asking yourself is, which of these choices has the sacrifice that feels most aligned in your body? And you also may find some of the sacrifices could actually energize you. If the thought of doing this scrappily, like creating your own MBA, finding your own community, putting together your own curriculum, right? Listing out what are all the things I don't know that I want to know. Also, we don't know what we don't know. So we got to talk to people who've been in this position before of running businesses that you want to run, interviewing them, asking, hey, what do you wish you'd known, to start or to scale? Make a curriculum for yourself. Pretend you are the professor and you got to make a syllabus. And for one quarter, you have X number of things you're trying to learn that will, if you learn them, fulfill the confidence gap that you're currently feeling about scaling your operations. It will connect you with other people, so you will fulfill your network and community that you're craving. And then the access to funding, you might even say, we're not quite there yet. I mean, you could say, what are my options, right? What are small business grants and loans versus crowdfunding versus angel/family investment versus VC? Like sometimes we feel pressure to make choices on decisions when the reason we shouldn't actually make those choices, the reason we're feeling insecure, it's because we simply don't have the correct information within which to make the right decision. So tell me, I'm going to pause right there because it was a lot that I just threw at you. Where do you feel most, whether you have questions on it, resistance to it, need further clarification? Let's dig into where you're feeling like you got the biggest question marks for me.
I think the biggest question mark I have is understanding how to go from 0 to 1. I think being in the food services industry, your operational costs just go up so significantly once you start looking at scalability beyond yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did get rejected from one incubator program, and one of the partners responded to me and he said, while we're not going to move forward with your application, you do have a very interesting background. I think he was primarily interested in me because I come from a lot of startup to IPO type of work. And that's just not something that they've seen in the food space.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'll give you a very, by the way, I'm going to give you a totally biased opinion on this stuff.
Yeah.
I am a huge fan of, if you want to start a business, go and work for somebody else who has a really similar business. That is the front row seat. That is the MBA that's better than any academic MBA. It's exactly what I did. So I had started a company many, many years ago that failed. And it mainly failed because I didn't have confidence making decisions, how we were monetizing. Like I would make a decision and then I would backtrack, and I made a list of all the things I didn't feel confident about. And then from that list, I started to look for companies out there that could help me learn those things. And through networking, I ended up getting a role as the director of marketing. I was the second employee at a startup in the space that I was interested in. And it was a recruitment startup. I wasn't interested in being a recruiter per se, but it had enough of what I was looking for. And boy, that was the front row seat I was desperate for. I learned so much and more. I learned there were so many things I didn't even know to ask about that just presented itself to me. Hiring, firing, decisions of scale, decisions to say yes to funding, decisions to say no to funding. Why? They ultimately sold to Fiverr for, I want to say $10 million. And I wanted, one part of me wants to say I feel lucky, but no, I strategically chose that company because I knew ultimately I was going to be an entrepreneur. And in the year and a half of working there, I not only learned so much, girl, I got paid to learn. That's my thing against business school is you are paying them to learn. Whereas if you work for someone else, you are being paid to learn.
That makes a lot of sense, but how do I go to another food services company that isn't even necessarily, it's a small business? How do I go to a small business and say I'd like to learn all of this when I am actually running my own small business?
Yeah. Well, first you're going to go off of what your traditional work experience is, right? This just goes back to who's going to hire you. And it's going to be somebody who believes that there's not too much of a learning curve, right? So if they were to hire you, you'd be able to do the job. So let's say, for example, when we look at your background, it's more traditional tech. You're going to go work in the tech space, but at least it's food related. Okay. So it would be something where you're taking your pre-existing skill set and the problems you know how to solve. You're just going to apply it in a pivot of an industry. That would be one way to do it. Another way to do it could be maybe it's freelance, maybe it's volunteer. It's something that allows you, you're not going to say to them, hey, I'm trying to get a front row seat to your business so I could learn to build my own. If you felt comfortable sharing that information, you could, but you're not presenting it that way. You're there to provide them services, but you're not coming in there with your mentality as a student, right? Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I'm having a hard time melding those two things together right now because I guess I would just need some time to reconcile that because I'm so used to my 9 to 5 being so separate from my pop-up. So I think a lot of my what if questions are just based in that.
Well, tell me, I think it's a very interesting dilemma where you think you've had a separation of church and state of your 9 to 5. It brings in the paycheck. And then on the side, it brings in a different kind of satisfaction for you. If you were to make that your main job or more centered in your life, how does that make you feel? So again, before you go into what does it make you think? Just what are the emotions coming up for you?
I mean, I would be so proud that I could support myself and, not be a burden to like me and my husband.
Mm-hmm.
Because I what I don't want to do is go all in on my side projects at the risk of at the compromise of financial stability.
I agree.
Right. That is just not something I would even consider doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if we could be at a place where I could run this operation full time and keep us in the green, like that, I would just be so proud of myself that I could make a living off of hospitality.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I would look at your next 9 to 5 as a bridge between where you've come and where you want to go. And I fully agree. I think the minute you put financial pressure on a dream, it can make the dream die also, let alone how, responsibilities to family, etc. So it's an interesting there will be a point where you do need to take a risk. But here's the thing, all this is risk taking. Like, you started this company on the side. Like, that's a friggin' risk, and you proved to yourself that you can do it. You taking your 9 to 5 and having it be more of a bridge into this new industry, that's also a risk. You're doing something new. It's just you're taking smaller risks, right? You're not like betting the whole house on this thing. And the more risks you take, you can keep building and building and building. And then that's where the confidence comes, because you're like, oh, I have proof that it's not that you don't have proof that it will necessarily work, because who knows? I mean, I had a 7-figure business that the pandemic destroyed. Like, you can have things work and then one day it doesn't. But what you do need to see is that you can trust yourself to figure it out, that you know how to take calculated risk. Calculated risk. My concern with the business school is that is an enormous risk. On its face, it doesn't look like it, because let's say you get into the best schools. That sounds nice. The risk is financial. You took out, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. I'm also a little skeptical of business school these days, because I worry that if you try to get a job with business school, it may hurt you, because they're going to look at you and go, oh, we can't afford her. Actually, there's some issue. I've seen people with masters who are like struggling to get hired and stuff. And I think these days I think it depends on the kind of business you want to run. If you want to run, I don't know, like very B2B, I don't know, gas and oil, or something that's like extremely technical, maybe business school is the place to be. What I would do as a next step for you, because I know what business you have, and you're in the food industry, go, and you may have already done this, but research the shit out of your heroes in that industry. Like everybody from, Christina Tosi from Milk Bar, like who has businesses that.
You know who has the business that I want, the business success that I want? Candace Nelson.
Okay, great. And you're in the LA area, so is she, I think.
Yeah.
I think. I actually have connections to her. I don't know her personally, but I know somebody who knows her. I would study her. I know she came out with a book. Really study her. And start thinking, I mean, this Chat GPT can be a good partner in this too. Next step, create the curriculum for yourself. If you were to go and get an MBA, instead of going and getting it and paying someone else, what do you need to learn? And then make a schedule for yourself. So within a given week, I'm spending X amount of time reading, watching, talking, reaching out to, like, make a very specific, not just like, I'll get to it. Like, this is what you're doing and when you're doing it, and put it on your schedule. That is the MBA part. Then start to build your community. Where are these people? Is Candace speaking, doing a book event? I mean, I once, like, one of my mentors now, I was at an event, she spoke, and we went up to her after and we just introduced ourselves. Like, just go, like, show up, but know who those people are and see where they're at, whether it's in person or virtual. And you could offer to support, like, hey, this is what I do. I'd love to support you in any way. I mean, even things like posting about her book on social media and tagging her, you do not need to have followers, but the fact that you did it will get her attention. Do this for all the people that you admire. Then you can check that off your list. You go, okay, I was looking for network and community. I'm doing that. I'm looking for knowledge. I'm doing that. Access to funding, at least know what your options are. And you might say, I'm not ready for taking out a loan because I don't feel confident that I'm going to be able to pay it back. That's fine. You at least know it's out there. Then go back to the business school applications and see, is it worth the money that I would be spending to go here and the time that it takes to do this? And by the way, all of the people you talk to who are in positions that are what you want to be, ask their opinion and poll them. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of outsourcing your decisions to other people, but if every one of them has a very strong opinion for or against, that is something to at least weigh.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think even just putting together the notes for our session, it helped me think that through. It's interesting because there's a part of me that feels like, going to another tech company is not is frankly just not where I want to find inspiration. Like I would much rather work at a Tartine and see the relationships between the bakers and the managers, and then like how the owners make decisions to expand or not. All of their I've been reading a lot on what's been happening with their unions, and that really interests me, right? Because labor and food just go so hand in hand, and that's where I feel very weak in terms of my skill sets, because you're not inspiring people the same way you would when you manage people in tech, right? Like you're not inspiring and incentivizing in that same way.
Oh, by the way, this is just to interject for a quick second. Sometimes we can map it out too much, and then we don't move forward because we're like, oh my God, I see all these problems in the future. We're not there yet. So what do you need to build as the next, like you have the foundation, like I know you have a great brand, you have a great product, you've shown up to farmers markets, like you've done the preliminary work to at least see, is this a direction you even want to keep going in? What is the next step that you need to take? And how do you even determine what that next step is, by the way? So yeah, not the 3 steps from now, not the like scaling steps. What's the like?
Or is that something that I should just think about on my own?
Tell me now. Do you know what your, again, not super scale steps, but like literal next step based off of what you've foundationally built?
I think the next step, which is a big step, is deciding whether we want to grow this in a B2B direction where we continue selling to other cafes, because that's the direction that we've been heading in. Like step 1 was getting this in front of customers, right? Like going to farmers markets, doing pop-up markets. That went really well. Step 2, it's been an add-on, right? Like we still have an active e-commerce site and we work with customers directly, but we're also working with businesses like cafes who outsource their pastries. Step 3 would be, okay, do we want to expand, right? Like just continue to add more cafes to our roster, potentially get into grocery stores, open up a private kitchen and like really invest in the actual bakes. Or there's an additional tech component that we are considering adding in. And is that the direction that we go? And that would require far more capital and advisement.
Listen,
so
any
a place where like the next step is very big, right? Yeah. Either way, you're just going to need more capital than what we are able right now.
Okay. So for the least risky option, so even though all of it feels really big, what is the smallest step that if you took it, it would give you more information that you could then consider both intellectually and also intuitively?
Add one more cafe.
Okay, add one more cafe. And do you know how to do that?
Yes.
Okay. By the way, as you're doing all of this, really pay attention to, again, what does it take to do it? And does it feel good to you? So let me give you a quick example. I have a couple of business ventures. I mean, I have Lays Get Paid. I have a product, like my first tangible product, like printed product that's going to come out. I have a book I'm writing, all these things. But let me tell you, as I'm doing the work, I love it. I love all of it. I love how hard it is because I love solving these problems. So when you take this next step of adding a next cafe and seeing what that does to you, both from a time standpoint, an effort standpoint, the intricacies of that effort, all these personalities you're going to have to deal with, processes, etc. Then you'll say to yourself, do I like this? Does this feel inside of me? Is this like a lighter pressure, a good pressure, a curious pressure, or a dread pressure? So even the contemplation of adding another cafe, how does that make you feel?
It's exciting because I love the partnership work. I love building relationships with cafe owners and just seeing each of the personalities of the customers that they're bringing in.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's really the labor that gets me because I'm still doing all the bakes and deliveries myself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the labor, and if you were to outsource that, how much would that cost you? Do you know?
It would be fine in terms of margins,
Mm-hmm.
but it would be work.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to manage it, right? Like, nothing in life is free, right? Like, nothing is free. It's just a matter of
And
like,
the onboarding,
right?
Like, it's almost like, is the juice worth the squeeze? Like, and it's like things like this is how I've seen firsthand with my own experience. Like, wow, this is why companies just get into so much tech debt because they're like, is the juice worth the squeeze? Like, it's just one more cafe. I could probably do it myself. But then all you're really doing is objectively like putting off the onboarding that inevitably needs to happen.
Yeah. 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 It's like at what cost, literally and figuratively, and the timing. I mean, to minimize your risk, you want to think about minimizing your financial risk and minimizing your burnout. So if you do feel like you could add another cafe and not pay anyone to do it, it's not a solution for life, but it's minimizing risk at this point. Maybe that's what you do with then a focus on expanding beyond that. It is hiring somebody next to manage the process. And then in order to have that money for them, what do you need to do? So it's like, can you take a risk that is continually just a minimal risk, but still a little bit more than you last did, if that makes sense? So it's like each time you make a choice, are you swinging bigger than you did before? But it needs to be an incremental bigger, not a massive bigger. A massive bigger to me is massive debt or huge pivot change. No. But at the same time, if you're not making that much of a bigger decision, then you're not growing either.
Yeah, I think hiring somebody, that would be the biggest one. Because the thing that haunts me in my sleep is thinking about times where I've had to say no to really big opportunities because we just couldn't make it work.
Oh, by the way, somebody on LinkedIn just said, the caller seems like she already knows so much. She has the wisdom. Yeah. Which is also part of a problem, right? Like you can know too much, but if it's in your head and you're not contemplating your body, like there's so many nuances.
I really want to talk to about this, I mean, like, no disrespect to any of my peers or anyone I've worked with or any of my friends. It's just you kind of end up in this on the other side of this, walled garden that everyone talks about. And then, I grew up working class. And so then you get to you get to the other side of the walled garden that everyone, including your parents and yourself, like you just dreamed about. And then you just realize you've surrounded yourself with people who have the exact same blind spot as you do. And now I just don't have anybody who works with their hands. Like it's like I'm trying to talk about operationalizing and scaling, like based off of California minimum wage to people who have 5-year career plans, right? Like that's not necessarily someone I'm looking to hire. Like the career path in working for me in the food industry, it's not going to be the same as when you're my direct report at my 9 to 5.
I have the perfect person. I have Reese. I wrote about her in my book. She's in the Lays Get Paid community. She worked for Accenture. She went to London School of Economics. And guess what? She runs a sandwich shop with her husband now with big plans. I'm going to introduce you. I have Chrissy Coles in my community who had a huge job at a food manufacturing plant and left it all to go become a pastry chef in Paris, where she now lives. And they are very similar to you, where they're like, what got me successful in my traditional career is not the same thing that's going to make me successful in this new career path. And you guys need to talk to each other. So definitely make your list of all the things that are haunting you at night, as you say, and I'll make those connections with you. But you can also post online and say, this is what I'm trying to figure out. Does anyone know somebody who is in this space that could, just seek that, but seek it with specifics like that. If you've had, by the way, so you had to say no to big opportunities.
Yeah, it's like I'm like I and I carry so much shame about that, right? Like I purposefully didn't put that into the doc that I prepared because I was like, oh God, like it just seems like such a waste that it was a really big restaurant. Like the franchise had come to California for the first time, and I got this random order on my website, and because of course I did not update my website to have a delivery minimum, I delivered one loaf of bread. The guy opens my loaf of bread, takes a bite out of it, and goes, I'm looking to open a restaurant. I'd like you to be considered as one of the milk bread suppliers. Right? And I won. I won the business. Out of major distributors because, of course, my bread is the best. It's delicious. It's soft. There's no preservatives, but I did not have the operational manpower for it.
Right.
And I was working with a local bakery. This is when I had to have my come to Jesus moment. I was working with a local donut shop to potentially use his kitchen, right? And in him, he was like, he's older. He doesn't have the same career incentives, right? And so I felt a lot safer working with him, being like, this guy's in the right mindset. This is exactly who I would want to hire. Somebody who just wants to bake and go home.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, oh, I could put my airport security job that I have because I'm a busybody. Like I want to do more things. And I could then work for you. And, and in my head, I'm like, okay, I can give him some of my recipes, do an NDA, and then train him. But then given the volume that we would have to bake, even this full-fledged bakery that has its like a commercial mixer, a commercial oven, they were so scared to take on this book of business that they also backed out. Because they were like, if we break our mixer over this, if we break our oven over this, like this is our livelihood. I don't know how we would come back. And I tried to reassure him, like, look, like, let's talk about what these financial risks are, and I could, play a role in helping cover, since a lot of this would be the risk that comes from supporting me and my business. Right. And then it didn't work out. Our wedding was coming up, and that franchise's health permits were getting pushed back. So everything was starting to get a little crazy. And then once the donut shop backed out, it was sunk. I couldn't do it because I was really counting on these extra ovens. And like sometimes I'll just be having a good day and I'll just have that thought in my head, like, remember that business you lost? And, I'm in the middle of brushing my teeth and freeze, and then my husband will look at me like, whoa, the light just left your eyes. What happened? And I'm like, no, just thinking about that.
You're like, just my soul. It was just my soul that left.
Yeah, that was my soul evaporating into the air, into the ether.
Okay.
And I just think about things like that, and I'm like, God, like, what if you just had it together? I don't even know how to, but like, what if you had done it?
Yeah, you would have done it, and then it would have been a whole other slew of problems. Listen, it's only lost if you see it as a once in a lifetime experience, right? If you were like, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity and I missed it. I mean, I don't believe there's once in a lifetime. I think that it showed you were on the right path. That's I see it as a signal that you're doing the right thing, that you're making the right product, which at the end of the day, if the product sucks, then like what are we building? So first of all, congratulations, you got the hardest part done, or not the hardest part, but the most important part. And then, okay, the next part you got right. So let's walk through all the things you got right. You put yourself out there, somebody saw your website, your social media, and they said, I want to try it. Okay. Then you got the product right. Number 2, amazing. Number 3, you realize there's a creative workaround to a commercial kitchen with this donut shop. Okay. So that's what, the third or the fourth thing you got right. You saw the opportunity with the kitchen. Number 5, you convinced the person with the kitchen that this was within his interest. You got that right. Okay. So we got all these things right. Guess what? You can replicate that now. So I would say prepare yourself to go close some big ass business by lining up how are you going to work with commercial kitchens in a creative way. I mean, I know you're in LA. Did you see the documentary Was it Donut King? Can't remember.
Yeah, the Vietnamese.
Yes,
family.
yes.
Yeah.
So for those of you guys who are watching, listening, you don't know this, fascinating. California, there's really no Dunkin' Donuts here. It hasn't done well because starting with Vietnamese immigrants, but then I think it's gone beyond. Donut shops are owned and operated by immigrant families, and a lot of them are franchised. They have learned how to do it. It started from this one guy. Anyway, good news is here is sounds like they all would understand the opportunity to make more money. They have what you need, and they're interconnected. Like, it wouldn't just be necessarily, I mean, perhaps you'd have to make agreements with each individual kitchen ultimately, but maybe you wouldn't. Maybe they're like, hey, there's 5 I own. So then you make a deal with one person and you get 5 kitchens.
Yeah.
Go prepare for the scaling by at least starting to have these conversations with these people in a more proactive way. And you're also going to learn a lot. They're going to say things like these people said, what happens if it breaks? Well, now, because you already are anticipating will be part of their reason they're going to say no or resist it. When you pitch them, you will already have an answer for this. Potentially, you could not have known those things when you were first doing this. You could not. I mean, this goes back to something I said earlier. You don't know what you don't know. Now you've learned a lot more having gone through that interaction, that experience. It was literally showing you that you're on the right track and that here are things you're going to need to figure out in order for this to actually work. I worry for you. If you had said yes to that and it started working and you were doing it and then it broke, you might have been in some problems that you were not ready for.
I know, and that relationship would have just been a disaster because I think that would haunt me more, just knowing that I put another family's livelihood at jeopardy, and then if I didn't follow through on a way to fix it.
Right. So maybe, listen, again, everything is a risk. Everything should be a risk. It's just a matter of what are the consequences of this risk and can I live with it? So maybe you now realize, you know what, in order to have a safety net, I am not going to move forward unless I close 2 clients or I have a grant or I've done crap. Like, you'll figure this out, but this is showing if something worked, consider doing it again and doing it smarter while also acknowledging you don't know what you don't know. You're still going to make mistakes. I literally don't know how anybody learns without making mistakes. I just don't. You're going to do your best to learn from others and their mistakes first. But until you had that conversation or these series of conversations, like those dialogues literally taught you something. I also have another person I can connect you with. She's opened up multiple coffee shops. And yeah, you can ask her a lot of these questions too. But expand where you think you are going to have the most. I mean, you could just really try to get all different kinds of business, but maybe you end up like niching. Maybe you're like, I'm going to supply hotels, hotel cafes. Like maybe there's something, you end up just thinking very creatively about how, you have to put on a totally different hat for this kind of stuff. It's massive problem solving at every step along the way. And if you consider yourself a good problem solver, then you can trust yourself. If you're not good at solving problems, then this is probably not the right business for you.
No, if I can do anything, it's solving problems. It's just That's the thing. Like, I know I can do this, and I have earned the trust of working mothers to provide food for their children. Like, if I can do that,
Mm-hmm.
I can do anything.
Yeah, and then like, okay, so think about like, okay,
I've had so much confidence come from doing this. That's why I
okay,
know this is the right thing. And then, like, there are some people around me, and I think a lot of this is projection, where they're like, well, you've had a good run, you know? Like, we can wrap this up. And I used to take that really personally, but I think now I see that it's like people's own projections of their own stuff.
Well, they don't want you to be disappointed or have failure, you know. So it's like, listen, you had success.
Up on this. Like, I know I'm onto something.
Okay, so I want to talk about again like risk and minimizing it for a second. So so we know what the risks, you know, in expanding. We know some of those risks. One way to minimize it is, and you can tell me how this feels to you, is it's a signature product, which by the way, maybe you already have, maybe it's that bread you mentioned, but you're not making anything else right now. So that if
I'm making 2 product lines.
Okay. So it might be something to consider. And I'm not telling you this is the right way to do it, but because you know on one side you are taking more risks, let's look at all the other ways we could minimize the risk. One of your ways to do that would be you literally have one product and it is, and you go ham on it. You're like, it is like signature, because I know that you, part of your products, like it's like flavor profile that's like sort of unexpected, like just like I'm thinking, you know, again, Christina Tosi milk bar, right? You like something that is unique, you own it, there are no choices, this is what it is, and it's not going to be for life, but it is the building block of the next stage of your business, not the ultimate stage, because we don't know yet, we're not there. You may decide, I don't want to be massively scaled, I'm not interested, I'm putting out too many fires and I want to have kids and have a life, whatever. We're not there yet, but you do want to be bigger than you are now. So what, just instinctually, how do you feel about, or intuitively, how do you feel about if you were to minimize it to one product, would that make you feel better about taking bigger risks with one product instead of two?
It's right now, the short answer is no. Because there's 2 very different customer bases. And what the cafe is like and what the customers like are very different.
Say it again, what the customer's like and why would a cafe want something that a customer wouldn't want though?
Because a loaf of bread is not something that most customers are interested in buying at a cafe.
Right, correct.
Where other pastry is single serve, and that is more cafe appropriate.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, my suggestion might not have been the right one, but it is the right way of thinking of where do I minimize risk? So where do I decrease pressure? Where do I decrease the amount of problems I might encounter in all other areas, so that when I take this next risk, I know that I'm coming in with a lot of focus, a lot of energy, and a lot of curiosity about these problems I'm going to be solving with this next step.
For sure.
Yeah. My wife just went to pick up my daughter, so I didn't have to. So do you have any other, there's obviously lots more we can talk through, and you and I will have a chat offline as well. But for the purposes of this call, any thoughts, feelings you want to share, anything else I can clarify?
It sounds like business school might not necessarily be the answer to my problems. If anything, they might just add more problems to my problems.
Add more pressure to to problems, for sure. Yeah. I mean, listen, I think if what you're doing, if you see at these schools that you're applying to that they have an amazing track record churning out people who run businesses similar to yours, then yeah. My impression is that they're good for CEOs. Like if you're a CEO of a business, you go to business school. But if you're an entrepreneur, not necessarily.
Yeah, that's the vibe I'm getting, because I work with a lot of people who went to B school, and it just seems like a lateral move if I were to stay in the corporate world, you know, and I just, yeah, it might be procrastination, coping mechanism.
Because listen, if you're focusing on business school, you are not focusing on your business as much, right? You're just not. By the way, you're going to have to grieve. Like when you say no to something, there's grief to that. You're saying no to a certain set of expectations you'd maybe had for yourself. Because I know you, for many years, you thought you would be going to grad school. There is an identity associated with those expectations. And to say no to that takes a massive amount of courage. You may feel disappointment, sadness, frustration, but don't mistake that as you making the wrong decision. Like, this is where, I mean, I think you actually said it quite well, which is probably why the person in the chat was like, she already has the wisdom. You said something like, and I'm always talking about like, yeah, add the and. Like, you can be, sort of disappointed that you never fulfilled the idea or dream of going to grad school and proud of yourself for updating your dream. You have a different dream now. Because by the way, you're a new person now. Again, we all went through a pandemic. We all went, people were let go. Like things have happened. Things are happening in the world. And you may want to make different choices accordingly and grieve the identity that you thought you were going to be before. Like that sucks. It sucks to say no to something, just like it sucks to have lost that opportunity. And it's a signal that you're onto the right track. Like these things, there's so many multitudes to it. And that's why we can get lost in the like, oh, am I making the right decision? Because I still have a lot of feelings about it. Like you should expect to have feelings about closing. By the way, nothing's ever done. Like you could go, listen, could you go back to school at any time? Could you start your business anytime? The answer is yeah, but also it gets more complicated as you get older. So think about if you're going to take a risk, it's going to cost X dollars to go to business school and X time. That's a risk. Scaling this business is also a risk. It's not like one is a safe option and one is not. It used to be going to business school was maybe quote safe, but it's certainly not. Nothing is guaranteed anymore except for your ability to problem solve. And your ability to problem solve probably will come down to, honestly, your desire to problem solve.
Yeah.
And if the idea of applying to business school, it's a problem in a good way that you want to solve. Hey, I want to apply. I want to figure out these essays. I want to get the highest score on the GMAT I can. I want to do the interview. Like it's a game to you. Then I'd say, ooh, okay, intriguing. If you're like, oh God, this, like, I really just want to like, let me just scale my business. You probably know the answer. On that note, thank you, Sarah. I love that you picked that name. It's my middle name.
Oh.
See, we were all meant to be. Super appreciate you. Super appreciate your bravery and calling. I will go ahead and email you some of those connects in the food industry here in LA. So you did the right thing to reach out. Keep putting yourself out there. Best of luck. I'm hungry now. Send me all of your food. And everybody who's watching, listening, thank you. Now go get paid.